Welcome to the Everything Podcast. In this episode, I'm going to be recapping Season 5 of Abbott Elementary following me recapping the first 4 seasons, so it only made sense to continue with the most recent, which also follows the path that the podcast is going. But before I get into this episode, I'm recording this episode on Monday, the 1st of June, 2026. This episode has been a long time coming. Get to that in a minute, but logistics side first. Yes, Monday the 1st of June, which is over a week since I last recorded an episode. It's the first episode that I'm recording in June, 2026, obviously on the first day, so not surprising. And also, I was in work a lot more, so that's why that gap. Now, you won't notice that gap if you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening on an audio platform. Same rules apply that they have done. 4 episodes a week on YouTube, 7, so an episode every day on audio, yeah. So I think the YouTube episodes released Tuesday to Friday, and then the audio episodes obviously all the way Monday till Sunday, because that kind of is the good thing about uploading to an audio platform is I don't have to pay anything, so yeah, it's not causing me any major issues with anything. But what else? Yes, and because of me being in work for basically twice as many days and hours as usual, I've got a backlog of episodes to get through. So you may notice that a lot of the episodes over the next week or so, if you're listening on audio, if you're on YouTube, obviously that takes up 2 weeks, but obviously Matt doesn't release them in the same order that I do, especially because on audio I was able to speed run through them, which means that they're there's only a week gap-ish, I think now. Obviously that'll change soon. Yeah, so that is that. Just had an email about something else work related as well, just as I was recording that episode. So yeah, more life related things, trying to get jobs in schools by going to look around them and yeah, that's what I spent. When I wasn't working, the very limited time that was, hence why I wasn't able to record episodes. Back to the backlog, so that's why, yeah, you've noticed that they'll almost have the 1st of June. Obviously, I will catch up eventually. A bit of a heads up, not this episode, but this block of episodes that I've recorded, especially if you're listening on audio, it is very Big Finish heavy. This wasn't done by design, but normally, if it was just 1 or 2 bits of news, I would have added it to the end of the Big Finish recaps, which I have one of those, but because there's so much news come out in the last week and it had to be the week where I wasn't able to record, that I'm going to have to well, it wouldn't have made a difference anyway, it just wouldn't have been as backlogged anyway. Yeah, it's just one of those things, but yeah, back to this episode before I'm already 3.5 minutes in and I haven't even got to the episode. But yes, as I've mentioned, I'm recording this episode on the 1st of June 2026, and in this episode I'm recapping Abbott Elementary Season 5, which in the UK because there's a mid-season break, they wait until the first 8 episodes were released, and they released them I think in January on Disney Plus, and then only last Wednesday, so the 27th of May rather, getting my dates confused, that yeah, you are what was I saying? Can't remember. If you can hear a beeping noise, it's just the bins being picked up. It's nothing exciting, because it's a Monday, and they normally had come by now, so I'd hoped, but obviously they hadn't. Hence, you may be able to hear the noise. But yeah, oh yes, that's what I was saying. So I literally, before and after work on Wednesday, I literally binge watched the second half of Abbott Elementary Season 5, because, as I've mentioned before, I want to work in a school, can relate. So, yeah. But before and I will go through each episode. Obviously, there will be spoilers in it. But if you want to watch the trailer and then go and then come back, you're more than welcome to do so. If you don't mind being spoiled or have already watched it like me, or are just interested in my thoughts, then please hang around. But before I get into full-on spoiler territory for Abbott Elementary Season 5, here's the trailer.
Attention! I have a very important update regarding our school. Since there aren't enough second graders for 2 classes, Miss Teagues will now have 40 students. I, for one, am excited to see if it will break her. It won't. It might. Y'all know what time it is. Welcome back.
I will be turning up.
You got me so excited. Guys, this year is gonna be great. You know, guys, I still think it's gonna be a great year. Ms. Shimenti will be moving up to teach middle school math and homeroom.
Preteens are a lot different than second graders.
You seemed way smarter when we were in second grade.
My student of 20 years ago is a colleague of mine. It must feel like just yesterday you were changing his diapers and powdering his little bottom, huh?
What do you think kindergarten is?
Yes!
You really can't ride a bike?
Never had time to learn.
Well, if you want, I can teach you how to ride a bike.
Baby didn't take me out of stop.
Go left!
You promised you wouldn't let me fall.
New Year, same old Abbott.
That was the trailer for Abbott Elementary season 5, and apologies in advance for Matt for how long this episode is going to take to him for animate, as we're currently running at nearly 6.5 minutes. I haven't even gotten to a single episode, and there's 22 to get through. So we start off with episode 1, titled Team Building. The teachers prepare for the upcoming school year. So basically, the district punish Abbott Elementary by having them do team building exercises because of how they were exploiting the golf course and accepting bribes and different things. So yeah, it's just one of those things. So we try and we meet Dominic, who used to be a student of Barbara's, which brings on more things. Janine kind of doesn't know where she fits in anymore. Janine and Gregory are still together. That's all I'm going to say about that for this episode. Until when I'm talking about later episodes of the season. And if you've watched the season, you know what I'm talking about. And that plot point was spoiled for me accidentally. So it's just it's going to be interesting to talk about. But now we move on to episode 2, titled Cheating. Melissa tries to outsmart her students, and Tariq causes chaos. So I can't remember what the Tariq causing chaos thing is. But Melissa trying to outsmart her students. She's used to teaching, we saw a bit of it in the trailer there, of teaching younger children, which obviously is very different to the age group Melissa's now been put in. But it's her adapting to that and the students cheating, and then Melissa Melissa and her students come to an understanding. We then move on to episode 3, titled Ball Game. The Abbott crew head to the ballpark for the Phillies game. So this episode isn't really set in Abbott Elementary nearly at all. It's all set I think apart from the first scene. It's set to the Philadelphia Eagles, wherever they play. I'm not American. Don't do American football. As I've mentioned previously, the only American football knowledge I have is from the show All American. So, but this episode, we learn that Janine doesn't really understand baseball. It is baseball. Why did I think it was American football? I don't know, but it's baseball. So I know literally nothing. The closest is I played softball, which is like the UK version at school. That's about it. But yeah, we learned that Janine's very safety conscious and wears a hat and gets hit, and Gregory blames himself, and then ends up. And then they all get to meet one of the star players that Barbara's obsessed with, and they get to meet the mascot, O'Shan, who is still Ava's boyfriend, or such, believes that Mr. Johnson is the mascot due to them not being seen at the same place at the same time. So, yes, there's that, and then we see what happens from then on, and O'Shan's proven wrong and all of those stuff. We then move on to episode 4, titled Game Night. Gregory steps in to host game night at his apartment. So there was game night planned with Janine, Gregory, Jacob, Erica, Elijah, and Simon. But at Janine's, something happened. I can't remember what it. I think she got flooded or something, so she couldn't have it at hers. So Gregory offers. Now Gregory isn't some to be. There's a social type, so it's so that's just where we end with that one. And Gregory kind of we learn how bad of a host he is, and then we with some compromises from Janine help understand it together, and then we and then that's kind of it. And Gregory's got really the other idea. Janine tries to help him continuously, and it doesn't really work. We then move on to episode 5, titled Camping. Barbara organises a Halloween camping trip for older kids. So this obviously episode is really up my street. As I've talked about in these episodes, I'm a scouting volunteer. I voluntarily choose to spend days in the field in tents camping. So the idea of a school trip camping, like if I was, or when, fingers crossed, I get a job at a school and things like that happen, of course I would put myself up for it. So anything like that, even, and what the thing is it's kind of based around half terms. All the kids are tired, all the teachers are tired, apart from Barbara, who kind of has this brilliant idea, because Gregory and Ginny, they're all tired and want to go home and sleep, and they go camping instead. Which everybody believes Barbara's just going to, she's not made for being outdoors. And then we end up with that not working, that backfiring, and Janine and Gregory get lost, and then they find them, they are found, and then there's the permits aren't right, so they agree to let them be there for tonight. We then move on to episode 6, titled No Phones. Abbott Elementary participates in the district's No Phones Day initiative, which is the idea that the district want schools to have days where they just, they're all locked, their phones are locked, so the kids are all for until they learn that their phones are included as well, which we actually see how it's kind of the worst day possible, especially for Janine and Gregory to not have phones, because Janine needs to pay her rent and Gregory's trying to get in touch with a mechanic about his car. So yes, there's kind of that. Melissa with her fantasy football team as well, and Toon Blast and all of that stuff. So it is a very interesting episode. Then we move on to episode 7, titled Goof Girl. A new member joins Gregory's Garden Goofballs. So this is a club that Gregory has made and created through his love of love of gardening. That's what I mean. And all the members have been boys, and then a girl tries to join, and the boys aren't very happy about it. And then we see what Gregory does about this, and Janine trying to set up a fashion club. It's very interesting and nice, and then we move on to the mid-season finale of Abbott Elementary Season 5, Episode 8, titled Birthday. Jacob takes on organising Abbott's annual winter show. Janine's mum returns. Speaking about floods, Jacob's show ends up because the sprinkler system goes and something is destroyed in the school to the end. We actually have, for the first time ever, I think, a mid-season cliffhanger, because then I think it was about a month in the US, it was 4 over here. In the UK and around the world, I think it's very strange when shows that are on US networks come on Disney Plus, because some places they're available earlier than others for some reasons. And we end up with the Abbott having to relocate to an abandoned shopping centre, or mall if you're in America. And then we move on to episode 9, so obviously the mid-season premiere, titled Mall, where the teachers return from winter break at temporary school, and this is a couple of episodes set in the mall, which is their new classroom new school temporarily whilst everything's fixed, and the parents are increasingly annoyed at everyone. But episode 9 is just the teachers getting used to everything and trying to set up everything in this school for a couple of weeks that I think it ends up being. We then move on to episode 10, titled More Part 2, Questions and Concerns. Jacob and Barbara become suspicious of Morton. As per usual, Jacob obviously, since season 1, maybe even episode 1, we learn of his feelings towards Morton. And then Morton tries to recruit Melissa and get her away from everybody else, and then Barbara and Jacob end up spying on him and Melissa, and then they show themselves, and Melissa apologises to Jacob and Barbara. And then we move on to the episode 11, which is the final episode in the Mall trilogy, titled Mall Part 3 Heroes. A new custodian arrives to join Mr. Johnson, because obviously the mall is a lot bigger than Abbott Elementary is, that Miss Johnson will do. So we meet Miss Carol, who we get on to by the who crops up again later on in the season, with some help from other members of staff, but I'll get into that later on. But yeah, and then it turns out that everyone can go back to Abbott after they get some help. They get a newspaper printed, and yeah, that kind of gets the district to shoo their way along, because they're not hearing the right things about what's happening with the school. So they go and investigate, learn it's only one person, tell the district about this, and then they kind of, because they're annoyed and complaining about it, they get it fixed. We then move on to episode 12, titled Picture Day. Picture Day catches the teachers at Abbott by surprise. Obviously, this is like a school photo day. I had one pretty much every year at primary school, and then I think it was every 2 at high school. Yeah. And then kind of the teachers also get their photos done, and because the teachers have been so focused on making sure the pupils look great that they forget about themselves, and they end up photoshopping themselves to make themselves look better, which obviously ends up having disastrous consequences. Well, not disastrous consequences, but it's what they want, kind of obviously body image and all that stuff. We then move on to episode 13, titled Candygram, and just before I get to that episode, we are currently running at nearly 18 minutes long, and we're just halfway through the season, so and we're approaching, obviously towards the end is when there's big spoilers. There's not many spoilers in this, obviously, as I've mentioned in previous episodes. In future, as I get through the season, I remember more, because obviously it's more recent. So episode 13, titled Candygrams. On Valentine's Day, the teachers navigate their love lives. This is a Valentine's Day special, which I think they've done before. There is a special episode coming up in this season that I know for a fact they haven't done before. Yes, we see Valentine's Day, and it's like sweets, and then Melissa and I can't remember who it is, but some of the teachers try to make feel better, and it ends up backfiring, and then Melissa gets told off by one of her students. Moves on to episode 14, titled Aid, with the synopsis. Jean asks for a classroom aid, and Dominic confides in Jacob. So Janine, Ashley returns, who was helping Melissa, I think in seasons 2 or 3, and ends up being more of a hindrance than a help. That's what Janine thinks is going to happen, and then it ends up not going that way. And then this is fun. Dominic tries to confide in Jacob, as the synopsis says, but Jacob takes that as Dominic coming out as gay, which is not the case. He just reveals that he has ADHD, and it came from a conversation in the staff room about medication. He then moves on to episode 15, titled Safety Day. So Jacob is outraged by an unfair district election. So I'll go to the title first. The Safety Day. It's initiative, because the district seem to be losing money, which again falls into will be picked up again in later episodes. So yeah, and then we. So they put all of them in one day. So we have the Story Samurai back, the fire department, and the drugs movement initiative. They're all there at the same time. And and then Tina Schwartz, who basically Gregory replaces season 1, episode 1 for kicking a child, which obviously is never okay under any circumstances, and should have been fired, but she got hired by Addington because they don't seem to have as many morals as Abbott do for some reason, because it's a version of a private charter school, which is like an academy basically, from what I understand. And Jacob doesn't believe that Tina's qualified to chooses to go run against. So that moves on to episode 16, titled Campaign. Mr. Johnson gets ready for the janitor's ball, so that Jacob and Tina end up having a debate, and Jacob's actually voted in and sworn in as the, I can't even remember the title, like 2 sentences worth of words, basically a district representative for something, liaison of something or other. And Miss Janine and Melissa help Mr. Johnson get ready for the janitor's ball, which is then cancelled. So then they organise Miss Carroll to come back, and then Miss Johnson and Miss Carroll have a dance together thanks to Janine's and Melissa's interference. We then have episode 17 titled No Homework. Ava implements a no homework policy at Abbott. So the first scene in this episode, we see the head teachers having a conversation from different schools. There's like a head teachers thing. Which is a normal thing. It happens in the UK as well. Not that I've ever been to one, because I'm not a head teacher and never plan on doing that. But yeah, Ava tries to get one up on Crystal by doing a no homework policy, which obviously the teachers are against, and even some of the parents that have Darnell, that has several times threatened to fight Gregory, and then Lisa does it to Janine as well. It ends up with what was I saying? Ends up with that being not well received, and then Ava is convinced to change it, and then we learn that Crystal doesn't even have tests anymore, which kind of then goes against the point, because league tables exist, and yes, exams are not meant for everyone, but at least some form of testing of some, at least can check progress minimally. We're moving to episode 18, titled April's Fools. The teachers suffer pranks on April's Fool's Day, so we learn in this episode that Morton used to do the pranks on April Fool's Day. He's not very well and in hospital. And then when the pranks start happening, like they're blocked from entering the staff room by cling film, and then there's loads of other things, and then it becomes clear that a teacher is involved as well, and they all start questioning each other, and then it becomes clear that it might be Morton. So Jacob rings Morton, or is it Jacob or Melissa? I can't remember. And they learn that he is actually in hospital. It becomes dire. Obviously, Ava's assistant. That is just she's very mean to, and basically fires every other day at this point, and rehires straight away. Then move on to episode 19, titled Trip. Now, from this episode forward, there will be huge, massive spoilers. So if you've not watched Abbott Elementary Season 5, and are planning on it, please go and watch it, because some of the stuff, especially in these episodes, is quite heavy. So we start with episode 19, titled Trip. A successful former student comes back for visits. This is Jonathan, who is a former student of Melissa's, who Melissa kind of and gets him to talk to the children about what she does, and then it becomes clear that he's a scammer and has been done for fraud, and the whole reason he's come back is to ask Melissa for a character reference, which is what you do for a job. I've done it for, well, the references have been good, I've just not successfully done the interview right. And then we end up doing that. And then we end up having and Melissa refuses, rightfully so. And also in this, throughout the episode, Janine and Gregory disagree over where to go on holiday and not where to go, how to get there, which leads up with them breaking up. Now this was the plot point that I was alluding to earlier, that kind of I was spoilt, which obviously is not nice. But I thought that was like it. That's the no getting back together. We'll get into that in a minute. And then we move on to then episode 20, titled Night Out. Melissa, Barbara and Mr. Johnson have a movie night. They're watching the new Avatar, which I think is called Fire and Nash, which I think actually, funny enough, is actually coming to Disney Plus quite soon. Not that I've watched any of the Avatar films, maybe I will. We'll see. Now I've actually got more time. I know 10 hours of work might not seem like because that's the difference between last week when I wasn't able to record and this week where I am, but it basically means that I have every morning free pretty much, or I'm doing other things. So yeah. 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 And then Erica takes Erica and Ava try to get Janine to go out on a night out, and Jacob and Caleb's back from season 4. Obviously Jacob's brother is back. And then Jacob and Ava are trying to get at the end of the episode, I think they kind of go, we need to get Janine and Gregory back together. We then move on to episode 21, titled Ava and Fest. Ava's determined to make this Ava Fest her biggest yet, obviously following the basically annual tradition of Ava Fest in every season of Abbott Elementary. Nearly there, 26 minutes now, so yes, Matt might want to kill me, so apologies. Yeah, but don't worry, the next episode is not going to be 26 minutes long because it's a trailer reaction, so it's not as bad. But yeah, it's one of those. And then we end up with what was I going to say? We then end up with Janine and Gregory do get back together thanks to some interference with them being talked together, and some Gregory gets some advice from Mr. Johnson. Janine gets some advice from Barbara, and they realise that their fight, which ended up in their temporary breakup, ends up they go back together, and they confess that they never want to break up ever again like that because it wasn't nice. And I even felt it because kind of the first 3 seasons was getting to Janine and Gregory getting together, and then we had basically 2 seasons of that. Well, 1 and 3, nearly 2 seasons, and then it was like, whoa, because it came out of nowhere. It was like, oh, they're fine. Oh, they're having a fight now, they've broken up. What? Like, episode 19 is blooming mad. And obviously there's no mention of it in the synopsis or anything. So Janine and Gregory are back in together, which moves on to the season 5 finale of Abbott Elementary, titled Miami. Rumours begin to swirl where the Abbott crew is in Miami for PEXA weekend, which is like a teacher conference. It's in Miami this time, and the district have paid for their flights and coaches and everything. Miss Johnson isn't invited though because he's not a teacher, so he decides to deep clean everything, and ends up rubbing out some car park space, which ends up making smaller, which causes issues in the last scene of this season. But the main thing is that it becomes at the conference, Abbott is announced to be one of the schools to be closed down because they do it in alphabetical order, and we think, oh, when the teachers realise it, they go, oh, that's fine, we're fine. It's again pulling the rug out of under you. And then because Jacob's now the district liaison, he reminds the district, because they've now got a new superintendent after the previous one, played by Keegan Michael Kay, or I've got the names wrong way around or something, but you know who I mean. And Abbott is saved, hooray! Speaking of Abbott Elementary, actually, we do know that we are having at least one more season because I think it was a little while ago now. Abbott Elementary was renewed for season 6. I think I may have even done an episode on it. So, yeah, we don't need to worry about them ending it on a cliffhanger or anything. Not that it did anyway, but yeah. Running at half an hour long. Let me know what you thought of Abbott Elementary Season 5 if you watched it, my recap if you didn't, and without further ado, I will see you in a future episode of the podcast. See you then. Goodbye.